What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of V42 Your Eternity. This is episode 13, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Mm-hmm. So we're finally following up on the last episode after last week's episode was just basically a recap episode. But yeah, so this episode just pretty much follows up on Fushi. He's been pretty much walking alone by himself after what happened to Gugu, and he's been basically, just pretty much in a depressed state. Like, it just seems like, he's been like going through the motion, like different mood motions, like, since his friend's death or something like that. And of course, like, the next scene, like, he ends up talking to one of his creators about like how he should deal with the knockers. And of course, like, his creator doesn't really go further than that. He said he needs to just, get stronger in order to, to gain an upper hand with, over the knockers. And of course, fulfill his purpose to, I guess, record and preserve humanity or the world or something like that. So it's not really clear what his creator's real goal is in terms of what he wants Fushi to do.
Yeah, he also mentions at one point in the episode that he, I guess he's something about like before his time runs out or something. So I guess he can eventually die, which I didn't think. I kind of assumed he was just immortal, but I guess he can. I don't know. I guess he has the end of his, like, there's an end to his lifespan or something.
But it seems like he's like he's kind of a spirit or something like that. I mean, I don't think
that's the impression I got. Yeah, but so like there's a lot about him we still don't know. But yeah, he just shows up like randomly at times in this episode, and it seems like Fushi tries to talk to him more. Like, he tries to get him to come out so he can actually talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
And Fushi also just exhibits like just way more emotion, I think, in this episode too. Probably just because he's still upset about what happened to Gugu. He's just very angry, and he just doesn't really seem to have a lot of patience for stuff, like, because especially with what happens to him and Piora, and in this episode he just if somebody just doesn't like he doesn't have a lot of patience for people like to try to, like, I guess, like, screw around with him or something, or don't want to explain what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So like he definitely seems much more human in this one, and I think that's how his character is seeming to develop.
I think part of it is like he kind of still has a mentality of a child right now, just due to the fact he's I don't know, he's only learning how to really talk and feel real emotions after the last few years he's been hanging out with Gugu and most of the other people that he's interacted with. But yeah, this is the most like human that you're right, this is the most human he's gotten ever since he's met up with Gugu.
So yes, of course his creator shows up and just reminds him what he has to do. And Fushi eventually comes across Piora, and like, what she said, like, she explained that she was like looking for him or something.
She like she just somehow runs into him, or actually no, like Fushi runs into her. Just like trying to run away from from his creator.
Well, he tries to run towards her because I guess he smells her or something in his wolf form.
Yeah, and she just pretty much explains that that she's willing to accompany Fushi, and pretty much gives Fushi the rundown of who's taking care of the shop alongside the old man, which of course Rin and Gugu's brother are helping to take care of the business. And of course she confirms to that Rin already knows the fact that Gugu's passed away.
So like really the majority of this episode is just like Fushi and Piora and like just traveling. There is one important thing that we kind of learn, is that because the knockers took March's form from Fushi that he supposed, I guess he can't remember her. But he does like end up remembering her form, but not her like what she looks like exactly. But he, of course he can't transform into March anymore. But he does like seem to vaguely remember who she was.
Yeah, but but he would need to find the knocker that ended up taking her form. Not just her form. The knocker also still has the form of the bear that he used to transform into.
Yeah, he pretty much has to get it back. But yeah, so like while they're traveling, they eventually come to, I guess, like a port.
No. Actually, no. Yeah. Before this, like, during their travels, I've noticed that Fushi's also trying to experiment with some of his abilities as well.
Oh, right.
And
yeah.
how that works.
Yeah, he discovers that if he like hurts himself with something, that he'll be able to reproduce it. So like if he hurts himself with like a rock, he can reproduce the rock. So yeah, that's something I guess that's something kind of new he tried to do with his abilities. Yeah,
and there was also one point where he wanted to try to take the form of the crab or something like that, but
he mentions that like he tried to take the form of the crab, but he'll just end up reproducing the corpse of the crab. And he also figures that he could potentially reproduce, I guess, Gugu, but it would just be his corpse. So he couldn't like bring it back to life or anything like that.
I mean, I'm curious if if you can recreate the body of somebody. I mean, it's possible he can bring someone back to life if that's a possibility. But
I don't know, because I got the impression that like he's I don't know. Do you think that when he absorbs these people's forms, he's also like in a way absorbing their souls or something? So like they're kind of like with him.
We see, if you remember at the end of the last episode, we see him interacting with Gugu's spirit. So it's possible that his soul is a part of Gugu now. No, it's part of Fushi now. But it's still unknown, like how what else is like Fushi's ability work. But at least we it's good that we're starting to know like that he's trying to experiment more with like how his abilities work. So, but yeah, so back to what you're saying about like those two going to a port, traveling to some kind of island or something like that.
Yeah. So they're led into a ship by this girl wearing a hat. And Piorin is led to one part of the ship and Fushi is led to another. Then we see them, basically we just see Fushi get thrown into a cage with a bunch of other people, and it becomes pretty obvious that this is some kind of like, I guess, a slave trade or something. And they're being taken to an island. But before they get taken to the island, they all get branded. Of course, Fushi gets branded too, but because of his regenerative abilities, the brand just disappears. So when they end up getting to the island, I guess they figure they made some kind of mistake because his brand is gone. And we see the girl appear again, and she pretty much just decides to take Fushi away and I guess sort of like try to free him from being part of the slaves. But Fushi, of course, wants to find Piorin, and so like he asks where she is. Just basically like the remainder of this episode is him just trying to like look for her.
So he does manage to, I guess he finds her, like, but he has to scale like this gigantic wall in order to get there. So he tries to go over by using like the spears he develops like as a ladder, but unfortunately he ends up falling and getting himself killed. But of course he gets up from that. But in the process, like people end up catching him, like I guess, like they
like in the middle of regenerating.
Yeah, it's just like I just find it weird that they didn't take it as more surprisingly than than most people would have. Like they just took it like as if nothing happened to him.
I mean, they were surprised by it, but he didn't want to, like, Well, they said like they'll keep it a secret if that's what he wants, but you know, he doesn't want to really talk to them. He's more focused on finding Pioran. But he before he leaves, I think he's like an owl. And he asks for the bow and arrow of this one guy's carrying. So I guess he figures if he kills the owl, then he could take its form and like fly over the wall or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I find it surprising that, you know, Fushi is like willing to, you know, just, you know, blatantly kill something in order to take its form. But I don't know if it's just something if that's something that would really work. I mean, most of the time, like the different forms he takes, like is either he has like stimulates him or has like gives him a more emotional attachment.
Yeah,
but
yeah, because I feel like if he just killed the owl, all he would be able to do is just reproduce the corpse of the owl, much like when they killed the crab. He would just be able to that's all he could do with it. I don't think he could turn into the owl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but unfortunately, well, of course, like, you know, the you know, one of the kids ends up stopping him and takes the bow away. But I noticed that, you know, he also ends up like I would say injuring himself with the bow and arrow or something like that.
Yeah, I guess so. He could just like reproduce it on the fly.
Yeah, but you know, instead of like interacting with those, you know, kids, he's just more focused on saving Pioran at this point. And one of the kids mentions that there is a way to help get her out because you know.
Yeah, I think one of the kids is that. Isn't it that same girl with the hat?
I think so.
I think it's the same person. Yeah.
I didn't think it was, but
it looked like it, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but anyway, so like the girl said, she mentions to Fushi that they're all stuck in a prison island and there's no way for them to get out unless Fushi participates in some kind of gladiatorial deathmatch tournament or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's what one of the scenes from the opening came from, because that kind of looked from that a place that he was being shown looked familiar. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's how he's gonna have to try to free Pioran by taking part in this tournament. So that's gonna be interesting. It's a bit different from some of the story arcs we've seen already in the series, where like I guess Fushi's gonna have to fight.
Yeah, I mean it seems like, you know, it's gonna develop Fushi as a more capable fighter than what he used to be back then.
But I mean, Fushi's also going to have a bit of an unfair advantage considering he can't get killed. You know, he can't die. So,
well, I mean, I'm also concerned about the fact that, you know, that because of, you know, his immortality, he's going to be exposed to like, you know, a whole arena of people watching this. And
yeah, they're all going to know. Like, I mean, so. Maybe I wonder if it's going to be something where it's like he's going to try not to die so he doesn't like expose his secret to people or something. So maybe that'll be what this is about, where, you know, because I don't know, I guess it depends on how willing he is to even, you know, want to expose the fact that he's immortal. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, only a select few people like so far know about his immortality. So I don't know. It seems like it could be dangerous to expose that fact to a lot of people like that.
I mean,
so I don't know.
It could be possible. Well, you know what I think? It's like, I think it's possible that him getting exposed to huge publicity of people like that would catch the attention of maybe not only the Knockers, but maybe Hayase as well, who's also, you know, been hell-bent to try to catch him as well. But you know,
because people would talk about it and the word would spread, and then she'd probably find out where he is.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, of course,
and the Knockers would also probably find out where he is that way too. So
yeah. And also, like, I'm curious, like, you know, what happened to some of the other characters, like from the previous arcs. I mean, I remember like Pioran also mentions like Perona from the village that he visited like way early on in the season. So I'm curious. I was
kind of wondering what happened to those characters after he left, because we don't really go back to them. You know, we haven't really gone back to them. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I have a feeling they'll probably show up again eventually. I just, you know, maybe it'll be like I mean, at this point, maybe it'll be like more than halfway through the series or something.
Yeah, I mean, we only have like 7 episodes left due to the fact that this season is going to be at least 20 episodes. And of course, like slight spoilers, like, we kind of find out like what happens in the manga, but I'm guessing like we're probably not going to get to that point this season, just due to the fact like how short the season is compared to how far the current story is.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an ongoing series, so there is definitely the possibility we could get a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I don't know how far ahead the manga is. But yeah, this is a pretty good episode. I mean, it was pretty much like we figured it was the first episode of like a new story arc. So I'm kind of interested to see where this one goes. It does seem to be a little bit different than the previous ones. Although, it does seem to introduce quite a few new characters. But as we know from the previous story arcs, like somebody's, it seems like it kind of had this like pattern, somebody he meets dies and he gets affected by it.
Yeah.
So that could still happen here, but it seems like it's, so far it seems like it's a little bit different than that.
This does definitely feel like this is like, really starting to be Fushi's story now, because all we've seen is like all other episodes, like, from pretty much the first 12 episodes, I guess, is pretty much focused on like, other characters like March and Gugu, with Fushi just basically just like being a background supporting character at times.
So now I guess in this arc, Fushi might end up taking the spotlight.
Yeah, it's basically what it is. I mean, Fushi's like been unable to do much of anything, for the first 12 episodes, just due to like, I wouldn't say unintelligent, but like how young mentally he was at the time and trying to learn some stuff. And now that he's gained like a little bit more knowledge of like, of how to communicate, socialize with people, he also needs to like, to learn how to defend himself more capably than before. Now that, just due to the fact like how badly it went with him, like, going against the Knockers, and how it ended up with Gugu.
That might be what this arc focuses more on, is him just like developing his combat skills. I mean, it seems like he's developed his social skills quite a bit to where he can pretty easily communicate with people and convey his feelings. But yeah, I guess this might be about him trying to become a better fighter.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he doesn't know how to handle a bow and arrow, for one thing, because, for one obvious reason. So I guess he would need to learn how to do some other stuff besides that. I mean, he can also transform into Gugu and take advantage of his I guess his flamethrower ability through the mask. But I guess we'll see where it goes for Fushi, for the last 7 episodes.
Yeah. But I don't really have too much else to say about this. I thought it was a good episode. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a good way to progress Fushi's character for the first time, I guess in a long time, in a way, because it's like this is basically Fushi's story now, going forward, after basically like a long first half of him just not being able to do much of anything, or just basically just learning how the world around him works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of glad that we didn't spend most of the season just with Fushi not, still being at more or less the same as he was in the beginning of the series. I like that he's actually developed more as a character, mostly due to like the time skip. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, that all being said, until next Monday, we will see you all next time.